Hey there, welcome back. This is Pixel Lazy, flight 119 out of Yuka Airport with service to Klyuchi Air Base in Russia. That sounds a little strange, but it's about 100 miles away. Takes us close to a couple volcanoes, I think, which are all over the place on this little peninsula in northern Russia as we make our way around the world in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I landed here in Yuka last night, and now it's Saturday afternoon where I am, probably Sunday morning in Yuka, and we're just going to take off and make our way south. Continuing, we're taking off to the south, and we're going to make our way south as we take off out of this small little Russian village, and we'll see where we wind up, see what we can see. This is probably going to be another one of those multi-leg flights because I've got an hour and a half here before things get crazy at my house, and I thought I'd, squeeze in a little flight as I head towards the south of Russia, at least on this peninsula, and head towards Japan.
Kamchatka Center, Lazy Lima 119er is type Cessna Skyhawk 1 mile south of Uniform Oscar Sierra Oscar. Request flight following.
Lazy Lima 119er, Kamchatka Center. Squawk Tree 441.
Squawk Tree 441 Lazy Lima 119er.
If you're new to my videos, I
Lazy Lima 119er
took off from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada,
Uniform Oscar Sierra
about
Oscar 1000
almost 4 weeks ago now.
0.19er.
A couple days after Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 came out,
119er.
and I set up myself on the rule that I was going to make my way around the entire simulated planet Earth, and in doing so I was going to only fly from flight or point A to B to C over the course of however many legs that took in this Cessna 172 Skyhawk. So far this is the 20th leg of that flight, and all of that is recorded in a number of videos as we make our way south now. We're heading towards right now I'm heading towards Asia. I've spent a couple weeks, about a week, 2 weeks, yeah, maybe about 2 weeks in Russia, flying over the northeastern corner of Russia. A lot of, just forested wasteland almost. A lot of small mountain ranges, a lot of lakes. I don't know what you see below me now. It's just been my life for the last 2 weeks of flying. I'm looking forward to heading into Japan because there's a content update coming in the next few days, and by the time I get down there should be some scenery updates from Microsoft that let me have a better look at some more interesting scenery than never-ending mountains and forests. So I'm looking forward to checking out some cities that I haven't really done, other than Vancouver and a few other small cities along the way. So there you go. I think I'm headed towards that mountain in the distance, and we'll see what we pass along the way. I'll check in a bit. So I'm about 2/3 of the way into my little jump down here to the Klyuchi Air Base. This is the first of 2 mountains, and I think I want to say they're volcanoes. Obviously they're kind of in the middle of like nowhere here. and look all around. Just this wide open peninsula. Some low mountains over there. But then these giant beasts of mountains just going to protrude out of the landscape here. I've been noticing as I've been flying a little bit further south that the satellite imagery has improved. When we were up north, it was getting pretty low res, but on this flight in particular, and maybe it's because I skipped over a bunch of it flying over the water there in my last leg, but this flight seems a little bit better. So I'm hopeful that as we keep heading south towards some of the more populated areas and into Asia, the landscape and the scenery just kind of gets up to that level that I was sort of expecting. So some lowered expectations over the last couple of weeks. You know, this great simulator, and it's only as good as the data. And I mean, I don't think there's much call for satellite data of northern Russia, and maybe military stuff, but I don't want to speculate there either. But yeah, it is what it is. And it's getting better. But yeah, this beautiful mountain just protruding out of the flat landscape, and I think I looked it up on Google, and I think it's a volcano. So maybe do a little bit of a swoop here just to get a better look. Yeah, it's a mighty mountain, and that one off in the distance, I have to land just before we hit that. That's my first waypoint, is just over that first little ridge and then before the big mountain in the background. So the foreground mountain is what I'm headed for. I'm just going to dip over that and drop, and there's a town on the other side of that. Krai, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And there's an airstrip just on the far side of that little mountain. So we'll catch you over there. We're about 8 or 9 miles out of Krai, Russia. The airport is sort of nestled in between those two mountains. I've got this, not those two up ahead, but sort of where the river runs between this mountain off to the side here, and then that volcano up there. I was doing some research, and Krai is a small settlement, so there's actually supposed to be a town down there, and I guess we'll do a little flyover of that. And it is located 19 miles or 30 kilometers to the north of the Klyuchevskaya Sopka volcano. Population of about 6,000 people there. And yeah, a military air base of some kind. The airport runs very much east to west, and we're headed south, so I am kind of taking a side run of that. I'm going to go up a little close to the volcano and do a little swoop low. Already tried to start losing some altitude here. And yeah, we should be landing here in a few minutes. So I'm going to check out again, and I will check back in when we're doing another little swoop over. But yeah, there's the volcano we passed earlier, and then this other one up ahead on the right side of the screen is is definitely, I think it's an active volcano, because online there's some pictures of that one with some billowing smoke coming out of it, so interesting place to check out, that's for sure. So we're just about 3.5 miles outside of the airbase here. It's kind of lining up for a westbound approach. Not sure what the wind is, I haven't been really paying attention. Oh, it's a little bit of a southbound wind, not much. I think I should be able to tackle this. According to my map down there in the corner that you see. Oops, not that one. That one. See, we've got the airport lined up there. So we're going to try and do a sharp turn. And that should line us up nicely for a touchdown on this airstrip. According to the details when I was planning out this route, that's a reasonably nice little airfield. Asphalt runway, about 5,000 meters. No, 5,000 feet, I guess. 5,000 meters would be really long.
Kilo Lima Hotel traffic, Lazy Lima 119er, 3 miles southeast, 800 feet inbound to land, runway 13. Unit 4 Kilo Lima Hotel traffic, Lazy Lima 119er is on final runway 31 to land.
We're going to land on runway 31, which is dead ahead. I don't think there's much for air traffic control around here, so I don't think anybody really cares where I land. You'd think if you were landing in the middle of Russia somewhere at a military airbase, they'd want to give you clearance for that. This is this Klyuchi. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't speak Russian. It's something I'm going to encounter as I fly all over the world. Not speaking the local languages, so not necessarily knowing how to pronounce things. But, yeah. We're going to kill some of our airspeed here. I don't know what the altitude is. About a mile before we land. Just line that sucker up. Looks nice and strong. Turn to my external view. A little lumpy. There we go. Klyuchi Air Base. We're going to slow right down and taxi into the main airport and probably pick this up on the next leg of the flight. A couple days has passed. We're still in Klyuchi Air Base. We're going to head south, see what we can find. I'm just about to take off. It's dawn. Beautiful pink, orange, red sky. Got a bit of a westbound departure here. To take off, our volcano's hiding behind that mountain, I believe. See what we find when we get up in the air. Get headed on our way on yet another leg of this flight. Got the live weather on today, so this is why the well, we always have the live weather on, but the other day we had a nice clear sky. Today, not so much, but it's definitely made up for with the sunrise over in the east. Just got to make sure I don't run into this volcano. But I'll get on my way and I will check back in with you.
Kamchatka Center, Cessna Papa India X-Ray Echo Lima is type Cessna Skyhawk, 1 mile southwest of Uniform Kilo Lima Hotel. Request flight following.
Cessna Papa India, X-ray Echo Lima, Kamchatka Center. Squawk 6557.
Squawk 6557 Cessna X-Ray Echo Lima.
Cessna X-ray Echo Lima radar contact 2 miles south of Uniform Kilo Lima Hotel, 1,200 feet. Altimeter 29.78.
Copy Cessna X-Ray Echo Lima.
When I get to my destination today, I should be almost down far enough south in this little Russian peninsula, if you've been watching my previous videos, to essentially make my next leap off of this continent. I'm not sure where the continent ends. I've been looking at Google Maps, and there's a little chain of islands that sort of connects between Japan and this Russian peninsula up in northern Russia here. And as I start leaping across those islands, at some point, I assume, I leave Russia and enter what would be considered Japan. I'm not sure where that is. I'm going to have to do some additional research. But, well, I think my next flight will take off and land on one of those islands. We'll take off from this peninsula and land on one of those islands. I might be still landing in Russia, but I'm pretty sure I'll be darn close to Japan, which is exciting because that means within, probably by the end of this week, if I do another flight later this week, and the weather outside is looking like it's going to cooperate with some generous opportunities to sit in my basement outside of the cold wind and flight some flight sim. But I should be on my way to Japan at the latest by this weekend. So the new patch for scenery gets released tomorrow, because today is the 28th. It's the evening of the 28th, and sometime in the next, 6 to 8 to 10, 12 hours sometime, we should get a scenery patch for Japan, which is just in time for me to go tour around and see what's going on there. This is yet another volcano. There's a chain of about 5 mountains that look like volcanoes. We passed one way back there. We took off. You can see that little blip just above my wing on the right side, just kind of moving above my tail. There's a mountain. That we were at the base of that mountain on our last flight, and now we're headed south. South-ish. Check in a little later. I wanted to point this out because for the first time in a lot of flights, probably since I left, I won't say since I left Alaska, because I think I've seen another player since I left Alaska, but there's another player within, I think that usually means within 50 or 100 miles of me. I'm not sure. It's a A20 cruising at almost 28,000 feet, so somebody's just doing a long haul flight probably across the Pacific Ocean or something, heading towards Japan. But yeah, that X button mash, herp X, whatever it is, button masher, That's what it is. I didn't see that until I just left. Button masher with an X on both ends. Whoever you are literally the first player I have seen in 2 weeks in this massively multiplayer online game. I am literally in the middle of nowhere. Welcome to Northern Russia. A little over an hour and a bit into this flight. Almost exactly 100 miles to go, so I'm about halfway. Maybe a little more than halfway. The sun came up. Clouds broke a little bit as we made some more distance through these mountains, and we got a nice blue sky flying over these rolling hills. I've been looking at Google Maps trying to figure out what I'm going to find at the other end, and I think just like the airport I took off from, there's a couple sizable mountains that make an appearance in the landscape just before we swoop down and hit our target airport. There was actually some photos on Google as well that had some epic pictures of the mountains. Is a view from this nearby town where we're going to land. Yeah, so I think we're getting down closer to civilization. When we get down to this area, we're a little north of the latitude where I think we'd find Vancouver, but maybe, and interestingly enough, I think if I'm just estimating here, we're getting up to the very similar latitude to where I currently live, just on the other side of the planet. So, kind of directly that way is where we started. Just guessing. I could be off by a couple 100 miles, but generally, that's where we are. Yeah, so I think I'll check in closer when we're got some of those mountains in sight and we're getting closer to landing. So as you can see, I'm about just over 25 miles outside of my destination, and I have actually spent some time doing some reading on where I am. Finally found some articles about these locations as I approach this next landing spot, and this is actually a fairly prominent location. So there was some fleshed out Wikipedia articles about where I'm headed, specifically about this peninsula, which is the Kamchatka Peninsula in the Russian Far East. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Again, don't speak Russian, so yeah. Dead ahead, you can sort of see shrouded in the clouds. That is a volcano. I just got to go scoot past that volcano and land on the other side of it. But that is the Koryatsky volcano, which is actually an active volcano on this peninsula. One of the ones the most farthest south on this peninsula. But this whole area is actually part of a chain of volcanoes called the Pacific Ring of Fire, which I'd heard of, but I wasn't exactly sure what that was. But yeah, so this is one of those active volcanoes. That volcano ahead of us, the highest peak there, it is about 11,500 feet high, and it is a volcano, but it hasn't erupted in about 3,500 years. So the last eruption was in like 1500 BC, so it's been a while. So it's not like it's gonna blow up as we fly by it here in the next 15 minutes. But yeah, so we're learning some stuff as we fly around the world and scooch through over some of these mountains, and we'll take some more video as we get a little closer, and maybe I hope to get a better view. But while I had some idle time of kind of flying in and having a look and not having to worry about crashing into a mountain in the clouds, I thought I'd share that. The last 10 minutes or so I've made a serious effort to lose some of the elevation I had. I was up at about 5,000 feet to clear the mountain range back there. I didn't fly directly over the volcano obviously, but flew over some of those low shoulder mountains. We've obviously appeared in a fairly populated part of peninsula now. There's more houses in this view right now than I think I've seen in all of Russia in my 5 or 6 legs to this country. So this is obviously a more amenable region to where people might want to live. You can sort of see the airport. I'm pretty sure there's a little gray strip up on the left and just about midway between my wing and the screen up on the horizon. I think that's where I'm heading. And this little area, according to Wikipedia, is called Petropavlovsk Kamchatka. And it is basically a industrial community. And the airport, Yelazovo Airport. See, we're just kind of approaching it now. Oh, it disappeared. But yeah, it's basically in this. It's known because of this. It's at the foot of this volcano. So what we're gonna do is hopefully get a landing approach on something in the high teens for a runway. If not, we're gonna have to swoop around, do another pass from the other way. But I am not sure what the elevation is around here. Wikipedia says it's at about 500 feet of elevation, but obviously I'm down there and I'm scooching along the ground. And have to kind of maintain some sort of height so we don't crash before we land, but also didn't want to have to dive bomb the airport, because I've done that a few times and it's not exactly a fun ride. So still no contact from the airport itself. We're 4 miles out. Usually it pops up somewhere between 3 and 5 miles as the indicator. Get myself a little bit more speed so I don't stall out here. And yeah, you can sort of see that we passed over that little settlement back there. I'm not sure what that was. And there seems to be another little town kind of up over on the right side there. According to my in-flight computer, you can have a look. We are headed right towards the airport there. We're zooming in, so keep an eye on that. Kind of lined up with the runways here. Not sure where they're going to get me to land, but assuming any minute something's going to pop up. Yeah, because we're less than 3 miles out, so pretty much radio silence. If I don't hear anything, I'll just land, but hopefully I hear something. Don't like landing unannounced. Beautiful volcano off in the distance. And yes,
Petropavlovsk Tower, Cessna Papa India X-ray Echo Lima is 3 miles north with golf to land.
Cessna Papa India X-ray Echo Lima Petropavlovsk Tower. Make straight in runway 16. Altimeter 29.84 winds 186 at 7.
that sounds about right. So we're headed in for runway 16.
Echo Lima clear to land runway 16.
Excellent.
Follow the aircraft on final. Wind 186 at 7.
Kind of a
Clear to
low
land
approach.
runway 16 Cessna X-ray Echo Lima.
And this is my 21st leg of my flight around the world. If you've been watching, I left from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. It's been almost a month now. I scooched over to the edge of British Columbia, onto the coast, up Vancouver Island, up to Alaska, over to Russia. And now I'm down in this Kamchatka Peninsula in northern Russia. We're about to land, probably one of our last landings in Russia before we head south into Asia. But it's been a good run, and I've enjoyed looking around Russia. Not exactly Moscow, but it was it's definitely something worth seeing. And as you can tell, not many people come up here in Flight Simulator. Not many people have bothered to check out the
Cessna X-ray Echo Lima, turn next taxiway.
not many people check out northern Russia because there ain't been too many other pilots. So if you get a chance, I mean it's not Paris, but it's definitely different.
118.9er
And there's some
for
pretty
Cessna
cool
X-ray
volcanoes
Echo
up here.
Lima.
There you go. Another successful flight. We're just going to taxi in, and thanks for watching. Thanks for checking this out. And hope we'll see you next time.